Glad to answer any questions I can. Sir.
You painted quite a rosy picture for the dams. You did a good job for it, with it. How come Judge Simon didn't buy this rosy picture because, with the biological opinion? Because a lot of what you said is expressed in the biological opinion that, they're getting these fantastic survival rates through the dams. And he says that it's not good enough what you put in the biological opinion, and we're on the threshold of eliminating some endangered species that are listed under ESA, like the the beast steelhead, the sockeye salmon, and go back and try again. That's the 5th time that the BIOP has been rejected because they keep putting the same stuff into it. And these are supposedly some of the best scientists we have in the Northwest and in the country putting this report together and displaying it to the public what supposedly the real picture is.
Right.
Well, the judge is not buying it, and he's saying go back, take another look at it for this 5th time, and take dam breaching and evaluate it objectively and do a serious evaluation of it as one of the alternatives to recovering these species. So you paint a rosy picture, but it's not all that rosy when you get to looking at some of the other things, like the wild beast steelhead, which is one of the primary resources in this part of the country.
Correct.
That's down to 2,500 fish this year, and last year it was way down. And we're talking on the threshold of extinction for those guys if we keep getting those kind of returns. And the returns you got to look at is a smolt to adult returns ratio. And before the dams, it was at 4 to 7%, and that was enough to sustain robust runs, viable runs. And what we're getting now for salmon and steelhead species varies anywhere from 0.5% to, on a good year, 2%.
Correct.
And that's the bottom line. We're just not getting enough survival through the system to rebuild these runs, keep them robust and sustainable with the system that they have to deal with.
You make many good points, sir. And I don't know that you could characterize Judge Simon saying, okay, I'm ruling against the dams. And what he did say is go back and said the EIS that you did in 2002 is stale, and I'd like to, I want to see that redone. And I agree with him. I mean, let's go back out and take a hard look at this. Dam breaching now is more of a part, you shall go forward and include dam breaching as a part of your analysis, and that should be on the table. And let's take a hard look at that, and then, we'll go forward from there with what, this EIS looks like 5 years from now. But, to your points on, again, what that smolt to adult return ratio is not just attributed to these dams. It's attributed to a numerous amount of things out there right now. And, if that's the case, there's, I'm concerned about Idaho's run, okay? That's 4 of the 13 listed in threatened species, but there's 9 below the Snake River dams. So, again, that's part of why we're looking at this. Is this just a Snake River Dam issue, or is this all 8 dams on the Columbia Snake River system? Because what are you going to do about those 9 runs below?
What they're saying is that it's the delayed mortality on the out migration. These smolts go through 8 dams, and by the time they get to the estuary, it's the induced stress from the out migration that is affecting their ocean mortality.
Well, the delayed mortality thing is that voodoo number out there that nobody's ever been able to pin down, but your thing on delayed mortality has nothing to do with the lower Columbia stocks.
I just saw a paper by one of the researchers was an Idaho Fish and Game biologist, Petrosky. They did this research and they printed a paper that said it was for spring, summer Chinook, it was 76% percent mortality.
A
that's
lot of the delayed
associated with
mortality
this.
issue had to do with barging. And most of the fish now, you know, we're probably 80-20 right now as far as in-river versus barged fish. So a lot of the delayed mortality issue had to do when we were barging the majority of our fish, and we're not doing that now because we're using surface bypass. Over here.
I just wanted to say that if you look back to your H graph picture, 80% of the life is out in the ocean. Why do we pick on the dams? Because it's one of the things when you get desperate that we can change in the system, man-made. You can't get out there and tackle things that are happening in 80% of their lifespan out in the oceans. And it's too piecemeal up in the upper streams, working with cattlemen or any other small thing that might be inhibiting pockets of survival. That piecemeal doesn't work strongly enough, so when you get desperate enough, that is why you pick on the dams. And why maybe nail on the dams, because some of them are starting to show fatigue and desperately need some upgrades. Our fisheries research never stops at the dams. And your graph, and when you were showing, we only mined the dams in the lower Columbia starting in '96 for data research. The size of batteries decreasing, the reason you have your cell phones, has gone hand in hand with our research, fisheries research. Some of the fisheries research has actually led to smaller batteries, but because of smaller batteries, we've been able to do a lot more research. And I mean, it's just a matter of getting things small enough to be able to start studying the smolts and stuff. So yeah, we were able to do a lot more with the adult ladders earlier than addressing things with the smolts, just because, I mean, science, technical ability didn't exist yet. But the research never stops. I mean, they still spend, still crew at U of I working on it every year, and hundreds of people. So the one thing you said in a gloss was the social cost. And you did point out how much EPA pays and what a huge fish and wildlife we have in this little part of the world. When those dams and that money generated that way disappear, I don't see, we'll all survive, in my opinion, humans, we're not going anywhere. But I'd like to see the dams stay and us tweak them better, but I don't see the cost analysis for figuring out all the losses to fish biologists and hatcheries and other things. We never seem to talk about that cost when the EPA is gone, because the dams all be gone and the money is being generated for electricity from coal and nuclear and some wind and solar. That money isn't going to be there to make these things. So, I mean, it's just one thing that I'm not seeing added in the cost benefit analysis.
And you know, when the federal agencies are going around with the scoping process right now, a lot of times when you would ask a question like that to, you know, one of the federal, you know, people that were there, and their answer usually was, "That's a great question. You should include that in the scoping process and turn that question in." And I'd say the same thing there. You know, I think you make a good point, and you know, that's a great question to submit, and you know, have, you know, that should, and if enough people come up with the same thing, that's going to be one of the things that are addressed in the EIS.
You had a slide that was the salmon return rate at Bonneville Dam, which I think is the first dam on the river system. What would have been the salmon return rate at, say, Lower Granite? What would that graph look like?
Yeah, okay, so as far as the survival over each dam right now, they're averaging somewhere from 96 to 97%.
Each dam.
Yeah, each
So
dam.
it declines each
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if it is 90, you know, if it's relatively, you know, some might be 95 point something, and another
time.
one's
How would
97 point something.
1938 compare with today at Lower?
Oh, that graph was just showing those survival, that's just the increase, that wasn't survival, that was, back this up. There it is. Okay, this is just total returns.
But that's Bonneville, that's the very first dam. What about Lower Granite? What would
Okay,
be
I
that?
think in one of these papers, they're over here, is that, and you can go out on the Columbia System, or Columbia River Systems Operational website, and that's one of the graphs on there that you can find for, like, I don't know, I think they've got 4 dams listed that have a similar graph to this. The overall numbers might, and I can say, and looking at that, I have looked at those graphs, and they all, have something similar to this on them. Of course, the overall numbers are gonna be less. I mean, you've got less fish coming over Lower Grand at the Bonneville, but they're all doing the same dog leg going up, not a dog leg going down. Now, okay, I could be criticized too, to say, okay, yes, that could be, these, again, most of this is hatchery fish. And you can always find an ESU out there that, isn't doing as well. You can look at, sockeye coming, going to Redfish Lake, they've had a heck of a tough time, especially, when we had that hot year and what was going on. So, they took a hit that year. So, it's, every year has a different impact on how our salmon stocks are being impacted.
Yeah, Mr. Dorningsfeld. One thing that you failed to mention, or I didn't hear you ever say the word taxpayer throughout your whole presentation. I certainly heard you paint environmentalists into a black corner multiple times. And I'm thinking about why should the American taxpayer continue to invest in a place like the Port of Lewiston? Now, many people that might have read the newspaper this week might have read that over the past 3 fiscal years, the Port of Lewiston has lost a little bit over $1.3 million. Over the past couple years, we've invested tens of millions of dollars in dredging, not only to study dredging, but also the dredging activity itself. Also, a few years back, taxpayers invested close to $3 million in a container dock extension. I have some notes here that say, port officials, possibly this is you, projected a container volume in 2016 of 10,000 TEUs. So this is when you were filling out the grant.
Yep.
Now this projection of the ports followed a 79% decline in container traffic volume over the previous decade. As we fast forward from the grant application of 2012 to 2016, last year the port barged 49 TEUs of containers. Their projection was 10,000 in 2012. Now when I listen to what Mr. Anderson
Can I start answering
hang
some
on, I'm
questions
not
and then
done,
you can keep
Mr.
going?
Dorningsfeld, no.
Okay,
You can answer them.
Okay, work
Just
with
give me
me
a second
then to
here.
go back and keep the questions straight.
So now Mr. Anderson is using the LC terminal, which is a private business, not using the Port of Lewiston to get his goods downstream. So all of a sudden, as I'm looking at all this body of information, along with the hundreds of millions of dollars that we're investing, the taxpayer investing in dam operations, lock repairs, fish mitigation, it seems like that the American taxpayer has a very strong argument to no longer invest in the Port of Lewiston and the Lower Snake River waterway. And my question to you is, why should we, not environmentalists, not people that support the system, but the American taxpayer, with all this money being spent and a big decline in shipping from the Port of Lewiston, why should we continue going down this road?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would say that, have you looked at Port of Lewiston's audit report? You have?
Yep.
And according to you, the Port of Lewiston, then you can say the Port of Lewiston has lost money over the last 4 years.
Yeah, it was in the newspaper just the
Okay,
other day.
okay, the newspaper is wrong. The Port of Lewiston has made $3.8 million over the last 4 years. And you go to our audit, it's posted on our website. You can go back to over the last 4 years, you look at net position. Net position is the same as net income, which is the profitability of the port. The port has made $3.8 million over the last 4 fiscal years. We have not lost money.
From
We
what?
have made money.
Is that from?
From
prop-
what?
Is that from?
Is
From
that
all of our,
rent?
from all of our operations that the port has, that
Okay.
we're involved in.
Okay, so that
So,
includes real
yeah,
estate.
so if you
everything.
take everything that we've done, we've made 3.8. So, you know, I can't impact what the Tribune chooses to report. But I would say that, but, you know, the audit is the audit. Go out there, it's an independent audit, look up net position. Net position is how you, on a governmental entity such as a port, how you govern your increase or decrease. And every one of those years, we've had an increase over the last 4 years. And like I say, if you just take the last 4, that's 3.8. So you're wrong that we've lost money over the last 4 years. Regarding the investment in the Port of Lewiston dock extension, that's around a $2.7, $2.8 million project. $1.2 million of that came from a federal Tiger grant.
Right.
The rest of that was primarily investment from the Port of Lewiston and taxpayers of Nez Perce County in making that investment. You're right, when we made that forecast at that time, we did not foresee steamship lines pulling out of the Port of Portland at that time. So that's where the container business disappeared. It didn't do with the need in our area for containers to be able to get to export markets. That need is just as strong today as it was. And as Joe pointed out, the cost now is more for local farmers to be able to get that product to overseas markets because they're having to truck it now to Seattle and Tacoma, and their costs have gone up anywhere from $800 to $1,000 a container to be able to get that inland component to that container to market. So, no, I did not foresee steamship lines leaving the port of Portland at that time. I'm also optimistic that that steamship line service will return to Portland. I mean, just from the simple point, there's just too darn much stranded investment on the Columbia Snake River system to enhance steamship lines to return to Portland. But right now, there is a battle between the operator of the Port of Portland's container yard and the ILWU down there, and they're litigating, and, you know, that's what caused steamship lines to simply say, the productivity that we're getting at the Port of Portland, we can't put up with it, we're leaving. When you guys get this straightened out, I believe they'll be back. Do I think that's gonna happen in 2017? No, I don't. Do I think it could happen in the next couple of years? Yes.
What about the dredging, Mr. Daniels?
Dredging,
How about that?
there's maintenance to the river system like there is to roads, runways, anything else out there. There's going to be maintenance that'll be needed.
But why should the taxpayer continue to
Well, the
invest in
taxpayers-
dredging in and around the Port of Lewiston?
The taxpayers
Business
pay
is declining
for,
so sharply.
that'd be the Nez Perce County Airport. What would be the difference between maintenance on a runway at the Nez Perce County Airport and the maintenance of the channel in that area? It's the same thing that we're talking about. To maintain your infrastructure, or to maintain that, you're going to be able to.
Even
you're
though
gonna be
business
going out
is
there.
sharply declining, the American taxpayer should
No, the only thing
continue
you're
investing
talking,
in
the only
that.
thing that you pointed out is the decline that's happened in containers. And containers are 15%, we're approximately 15% of the tonnage leaving the Port of Lewiston. An important 15% of the tonnage, but, you know, that's gone. So the majority of the tonnage still leaving there is leaving through grain movements out of that area. And so, you know, and now you're assigning the cost of dredging to just the barging. But there's also the recreations such as cruise boats that come up there, or recreation that goes on. So you don't take the cost of dredging and assign it to just one element such as barging, but you have to look at the total impact of what's going on that river system.